Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching Daybreak coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. It's time for the press preview, a first look at what's in the front pages as they come in.
And let's bring in a Rise News analyst for this, for the analysis of the big stories this morning. Yes, Dr. Constance Ikokwu is a journalist. She is a political commentator. And like I said, a Rise News analyst. Dr. Constance Ikokwu, great to have you this morning. Always a delight to see you. So if we look at the front pages this morning, I'm wondering what's your pick. I would go for this day. This day, no prejudice. This day. FG to court cost of governance. FEC okays immediate implementation of the Oransaye report. What do you make of this, Dr. Ikokwu, 12 years after?
Yes, and this one, there is prejudice this day first before others. Anyway, yes, finally this report is seeing the light of day. As we have all mentioned before, the conversation started under President Goodluck Jonathan's administration, but they could not implement it. And then it was also considered under President Buhari's administration, and it fell through. I think they did not have sufficient courage and will to implement it. And here we are today. For many people, this is very important, and it's coming at a critical time in view of the fact that the present circumstances require huge reductions in cost of governance. I mean, we are being hampered, economic growth is being hampered by high debt, low revenue, oil theft, and a couple of other issues that we face. So it is a good time to start implementing the report. The committee has been set up, headed by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. There are other members, such as the Minister of Budget and National Planning, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, and a couple of other people. However, it does not nearly go enough, because in the original report, Oransaye had recommended the scrapping of over 200 agencies, and then the abolishment of, I think, 38 agencies as well. And then I think the fusion of some, at least 13 agencies into ministries. So now they're not doing that. It's about 100 that they will be working with. But at the same time, it's a brilliant step. It's the first step. But the government needs to go further. It needs to move into the legislative and executive arms, where people see a lot of profligate expenditures going on. If it's able to curtail that, in addition to other reduction in cost of governance, the country will be better off for it.
All right, let's look at the Punch and see what it has on its front page. Two stories leap at you. The first one is on the top mast. This police deploy anti-riot squad as NLC holds protest today. And down the ladder there, you see Customs suspending rice sale after 7 die in stampede. Constance.
Yes, for Labour, this was coming. The 14-day warning that was issued by the Nigeria Labour Congress to the government has expired, and I think the talks that they were having has fallen through, and that is why the strike is going to start. We all already know what the issues are. Labour is demanding that government honors its agreement that were reached sometime last year. This includes the wage awards to civil servants. There was also the promise of the CNG mass transit buses, and then the petrol conversion points, the conversion points for petrol to gas, which is much cheaper. A lot of these things have not been implemented, and that is why we are where we are today. I think that this was going to come, because it looks like the government was a bit running up and down, trying at the last minute to see if it can honor some of these agreements, and this is not happening. And when you look at the whole situation, you look at Abuja, for instance, the FCT, how difficult can it be to have mass transit buses in Abuja? This is a modern capital city that is still being constructed. If you go around the city of Abuja, you see construction going on. Why is it so impossible to provide mass transit? I think that's a question the government should be asking. There are low-hanging fruits that are easy to implement or execute if the government is really serious about this. So let's see how far Labour can go with the strike.
I was listening to the Minister of Information this morning say that government has achieved 80% of the agreements between both parties. If that is so, I mean, what do you think about then Labour going on protest? 80%? That's an A.
I don't think it's 80%. If it's 80%, the Labour will not be going on strike. For instance, the wage award that they spoke about, it was supposed to be 6 months. I think they had only been able to pay a couple of months last year. So I don't think it's 80%, you know. But then when you also look at the general crisis in the country in terms of cost of food, because of the fuel subsidy removal, I think Labour is saying that you have to do 100% because the issue is so critical. People are really suffering, and they want to see a change in the way that government treats citizens.
Seeing a change in the way that government treats citizens. I think The Guardian has the story of the Nigerian government saying unemployed young people will now be paid a stipend, monthly stipend, to cushion the effect of economic hardship. What are your thoughts on this new development? Yes,
that's another news story. And it is good. There are so many countries around the world that provide some sort of a monthly wage for people that are unemployed. Not only young people, it can be middle-aged as well, and professionals, you know, that fell on hard time. It is a good policy. However, from the beginning, the government should already be thinking of potential abuses. We all see what happened in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, where money was voted and it was being squandered. So you do not want that to happen. Then secondly, you have to structure and define it properly. Who is a young person and what are the criteria for receiving this money? And then you also do not want young people to get hooked on free money. You want to structure it in such a way that able-bodied men and women will eventually get up and go and look for work because you need that workforce or that labor force for your country.
Yes, and just to clarify that the Nigeria Labour Congress is proceeding on a national protest for today and tomorrow and not a strike. I'll just put that out there. But Dr. Constance, how difficult is it to get anything organized in Nigeria? And I ask this because of the story on the front page of the New Telegraph this morning where an agency of government, the customs, had stepped into the crisis to help by selling seized items at cheaper rates to cushion the effects that we are feeling. However, there's been an unfortunate situation with Stampede. Why is this so difficult? What do you make of that?
Well, I think that generally portrays or mirrors the hardship that the country is facing. It's not only that story. When you follow developments, you will see instances where, for instance, in some states where bread was, left on the floor and people were struggling and fighting over just loaves of bread. This is to show how difficult the things are for people. And so that stampede is expected because if you do not manage the crowd carefully, then everyone wants to get a piece of food. We can see already the strikes that are happening all over the country. These are not stage managed. These are people that are really going through acute hardship. And that is why you see that every instance and opportunity that they see to get food, basic food, the basic things that government should provide, it becomes a very chaotic situation. So that's why we saw that custom story. I hope that this does not happen again because people die just in the process of trying to get food on their table.
Really, really sad, one must say. All right, let's just look at a story from the foreign scene. Financial Times. Sweden clears last hurdle to join NATO as Putin's war shifts alliance borders. This must be interesting news to you.
Yes, indeed, very interesting. NATO was formed in 1949 for defense and security purposes. And it's more interesting because Sweden has been a country that has taken for a long time a neutral stance on security matters. They do not get involved. But with the military threat posed by Putin's Russia, a lot of tiny European countries are beginning to feel jittery and feel like they need to join NATO in order to gain some protection from that military threat. And that's what we are seeing. Immediately, Russia invaded Ukraine a couple of years ago. Sweden decided that it wanted to join NATO and tendered an application. But it was stalled because one or two members, I think Turkey and Hungary, were against their membership. They have been asking for some concessions. And finally, that day has come. It has happened. NATO will become Sweden will become a member of NATO. There are other countries as well that have been trying to join NATO. So this is an alignment and realignment happening on the world stage because of Russia and a couple of other things. We know that there is BRICS that is coming up. You know, we see the emergence of China. So the powers are changing. It's no longer one superpower. And so that is why we are seeing all these movements on the global stage. And I think in the near future, we are going to see more and more of this type of development.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ikokwu, for sharing your morning with us. I know it's quite early, but thank you so much.